This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Many expected Long Beach to be a tough one, but the frustration certainly boiled over for many. With the street circuit finally in their rearview mirrors, the drivers can now visit another classic. Sebring is usually considered a challenging track, but compared to previous rounds, it might wind up feeling like a cakewalk. Let's see if it's any easier as we get ready to watch Round 5 of the iRacing Kamel GT series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Jake Sperry. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. For most sports car racing fans, Sebring needs no introduction, but in case some of our viewers are new to the circuit, let's head to our track guide. Welcome to Sebring International Raceway. Home to the 12 Hours of Sebring, one of the most grueling tests in endurance racing, this is a track which has earned a fearsome reputation among drivers. The circuit itself is located on the southeastern edge of the city of Sebring, Florida, and was built out of Hendricks Army Airfield shortly after World War II. 3 layouts are currently in use, ranging from 1.7 to 3.7 miles in length. The longest course, which is perhaps the most well-known with it being the one used for the famed endurance race, shockingly still contains portions of the original airfield surface. It's this aspect which has become a signature feature of the track, making it extremely bumpy for racing. Sunset Bend in particular nearly shakes cars apart while they attempt to navigate the high-speed 180-degree corner. As you'd expect for the side of an airfield, there's nearly no elevation change over the course of a lap, but many of the curves are dramatically tall and unforgiving, daring drivers to glance them yet not hit them directly. Thankfully, places to pass are plentiful, including spots like the Hairpin and Cunningham. However, the many fast, sweeping turns creates a dilemma for car setup, since a vehicle that's made too stiff could wind up bottoming out on the onerous bumps. In the end, if you have the wherewithal to withstand the track's rough nature, you're likely to fare well. And since Florida fans almost always show up in huge numbers to witness this test of car and driver, you'll have plenty to impress at this legendary North American road course. Well, there's a little bit about this place, but Jake, now that we take these old school prototypes and sports cars to this track, what's the multi-class traffic going to be like out here?
Difficult. It's a track which is very narrow in the early stages of racing, and something that when you see this place, it's going to be all about finding the right zone. You look at this 17-turn international layout of 3.7 miles or just a shade under 6 kilometers. The ideal for you is to get passes done on the Ullman Straight, which is the back stretch, the front stretch, or maybe even the Flying Fortress Straight down towards Bishop and Ullman. It's a tough track. It's a track which, by all intents and purposes, is about making sure that you manage that transition as well between asphalt and concrete. It's one of the very unique circuits in racing, and that's why Sebring is so beloved.
It certainly brings its own thing to the table, and the drivers have brought their thing to the table in the championship, starting with the prototypes here. GTPs being led by Aitor Sentes Galindo, who finally got his first ever win in the series at Long Beach. That launched him into the lead of the championship, but only by a single point over Ove Trangerade. From there, it gets pretty tight between Haycox, Jungbluth, and Olsen, but this has been a topsy-turvy season, so that, of course, could switch around pretty quickly. Jake, what about the GTO standings?
GTO's really interesting right now. The top 4 in the championship haven't got a win yet this season. It has been that unpredictable, but it is Oren Laskin who leads on 53 points, 2 clear of Jamie Hamill-Smith. Mark Oehler is there in 3rd position, just 6 points back. Hideki Koivisto is in 4th position, and Reed Miller managed to pick up 1 win so far this season. He's 5th, just 8 points back. It's pretty much a who's who. Anyone can take it. The top 8 in the championship are only split by 13 points after 4 rounds.
Yeah, so obviously all the craziness we've witnessed has kept things in touch over there. For today's event, it's back to our normal run-of-the-mill layout of 40 minutes instead of 60 like we had last week. It is open setups as usual and no spare car waiting for them if they get damaged. And there you see they've got to be safe out on the track because at 17 incidents, they'll get a drive-through. 25 will net them a complete disqualification. We are in the qualification right now as we wait for drivers to put times down. 52 of them have showed up once again. And this has been kind of a theme all season, Jake. There's been a lot of drivers showing up and they have yet to split. So it's always been essentially a full field, which has caused some frustrations. But, I mean, this is a much longer track. I think having the extra space will help out.
It will. It will take a little bit longer for that lapping process to begin. We normally see that happen within about 5 to 7 laps. This will be more about 8 to 10, you'd feel, in terms of how the track length. Look at that number 1 bouncing about all over Sunset Bend. You can see how highly strung it is. It's very much a tough challenge for Hugh Haycox there, the Frenchman, making his charge around a 42.5 as the first time on the board, but immediately beaten by Matthias Havdahl. Going quicker there on a 42 flat. But this is going to be an interesting one in the sense that drivers are going to have to be more alert, especially when it comes to the tricky sections. This point of the track there, Joe, that they were going through, 3, 4, and 5, expect that to be a nightmare because that's the sort of place where GTO and GTP are equal in pace.
Oof, yeah, I could see them easily tripping over one another. Havdahl still with the provisional pole in the GTPs. We're waiting for the GTOs to set some times. Looks like Mukanos among the first. Ian Haycock's going to follow him. Oh, Fabian Jungbluth is up to 3rd in the GTPs. And nobody able to overtake Nick Mukanos quite yet. Niels Kaur gets close, but not close enough.
Yeah, close, but you know, close doesn't always get the right result there as it's very much 0.3 of a second in GTO at this point in time. And I'm sure that's going to be worth an eye out here the longer that they go. And one of the keys as well with 52 drivers is that a lot of drivers will either choose to set their times early or late. And it might be an advantage today, Joe, for drivers to set their times late today, knowing that there's a lot of drivers in this field, knowing you've got a lot of time to go out there and put that lap in. You've got 8 minutes or 2 laps, so you've not got much time to wait, but long enough so you can see what the first times look like on the board.
Exactly. Just over 2 minutes for many of the GTO field and just shy of 145s for the GTPs here today as we continue to watch Niels Kaur, 0.3 to make up to Nick Mukanos up ahead of him. And Havdahl has upped his pace on his second lap. He's now just about 0.2 ahead of Hugh Haycox, who has already completed his qualifying, so he can't respond. And Laust Olsen just breaks into 3rd as Ove Trangerade follows him onto that second row.
It certainly did, but only for a moment as Aitor Sintes Galindo, the championship leader, goes 4th fastest. Philip Lake goes to 5th. We're on board still with Niels Kaur heading out then of Le Mans onto the Ullman Straight and the all-important run here towards Sunset Bend. I like to call it the corner of 1,004 lines. Which one's the correct one? Well, nobody's really quite sure as they hit the brakes into the right. You can see how you have to be very, very particular with the way that you turn the car. It's always going to want to try and understeer out on the exit, uses all of the circuit to advantage. What time can Niels Kaur do over the line? Well, he can only be a little bit slower by about 100th of a second. So really to show you that it is quite a tough place today to get it all sorted and situated as we look at the number 15 machine making progress around the circuit. Yet to set a time, or actually has set a time, 4:31. That is Martin Krejcik.
Koivisto just crossing the GTOs. He goes faster and up to 6th in his class. So as we watch Martin come onto the Ullman straight, trying to get a best launch he possibly can to try and get himself a little bit better starting position. He's just about smack dab in the middle of things in 11th right now. And he's got Stefan Leslie in front of him on the track, also ready to set a time. Krejcik down into the timing line for his last timed lap. Can he go quicker than that 43.1? Yes, a 42.7, a nice improvement. That's actually up to the third row.
And you take those with a pinch of salt. That third row could be important with how congested it could be off the start. One wrong move can put a whole heap of troubles in. There was the 21 coming across the line. The only driver out there who can finish a time is Brett Etherington, but he's left himself too much work to do. Joe, I believe everyone who has been able to set a lap has managed it.
Yep, you are right. So nobody close enough to be able to cross that start-finish line. So our order is now set. And as we mentioned before, Matthias Hovdal seems to have the pace here. He's one of those who have won so far this season in the prototypes. And he's going to be starting next to Hugh Haycox, who had a bit of a bad day back in California. Laust Olsen starts from 3rd behind them. Then you've got Heitor Sintes Galindo in 4th. Ferran Grau Sanchez, that's a new name in this series. Let's see how he does from 5th. Martin Krejcik, late run up to 6th, followed by Philip Lake in 7th. Fabian Jungbluth will be P8. Ove Trangrade, unusually far down for him, starting P9 with Gabbiani in 10th. Then a shockingly low result for Togo Hisada, who usually qualifies much better. He'll be 11th. Alex Millward next to him in 12th. Javier Mosquera starts in the inside of the next row with So Harrison showing up for his first ever camel race, as he said earlier. And Michael Springer will be starting from 15th. And it's John Keefe in the 16th spot. You've got Patrick Zilvazi starting 17th and Pablo Suarez to his outside. Douglas Cloud starts 19th today. Guy Otero will be in 20th. We go to the next slide, and it is Hugh Murray in 21st, Nicholas Rage in 22nd, and Stefan Leslie qualifying all the way down in 23rd. Rickard, Arribas, Cope, Porter, and Graham are the last to set times. Greenhaw, Fonseca, Phillips, and Millen are going to grid up at the tail of the GTP field.
And then just looking in towards your GTOs, Nicholas Mukanos has the pole position there with Niels Kaur in 2nd. Following that is Frankos Skuri and Jamie Hamill-Smith there in what is 32nd, going to be 36th off the get-go. Ben Laughter and Hideki Koivisto follow that, with Ian Haycox following Thomas Fisher. Camilo Miranda there with the championship leader, Oren Laskin. A lot of work to do over this race, just behind Mika Tupola and Nejtun Cameron there just behind that as well. They'll have one lap to get themselves sorted and situated. So the likes of Harry Weir, Silva Piamet, Ilya Dryzin there with Simo Raba, Michael Haynes and Andrea Juteau all have their work with a lot to go through. The two drivers who didn't set a time in GTO were Tiancheng Zhang and Brett Etherington. They will go from the very back of the field with a last to first challenge.
They've taken off on the pace lap. It's, as you can tell, quite cloudy here in Florida today. So the temperatures are down at least, so they won't have to worry about a hot surface to deal with in addition to the bumps. And it's also very low winds. So about as ideal as it can get for them in what is already going to be a very difficult combination, Jake.
Certainly is. I think actually the cold conditions are going to make life a lot more difficult for these drivers today. They're going to be dealing more with oversteer than understeer, and when the bumps they create that compression damping as you jump on over through certain sections of the track. It's going to be so easy for the back just to step around if you hit a bump wrong. So that's going to be something they're going to be dealing with the longer that this race goes on. I think that's going to be more of a GTP problem than a GTO problem today. So expect the GTOs to be nice and fine and solid around this circuit. I expect the GTPs to get into trouble.
And they have, certainly, earlier in this season. There's been a lot of talk after last round. There were definitely some angry people after some of the incidents that happened at Long Beach, but it's so narrow there, so tight compared to this track, which is a little bit more wide open. Thankfully, fewer things to hit, but of course, it's not completely safe out there, so drivers could certainly find themselves running into damage as we now come into one of the tighter portions here into Collier. This is one of those spots you were mentioning earlier through 3, 4, and 5, Jake. I feel like this is going to be a similar situation if they catch traffic here.
Yeah, Cunningham corner, then through Collier, this left, and then that leads, of course, towards the tower corner, which is the right. Of course, they used to have a radio tower there at that section of track, so that's why it's named Tower Corner, going on to the Flying Fortress Straight. But that middle sector is going to be key for overtakes, in my opinion. You set up that area right, you've got this run all the way to Ulm and Le Mans, which is going to be so vital. So if you can marry up the middle sector, the final sector becomes plain sailing. It's just an up and back. So if they can manage that, it's going to be good. I'm sure that someone like the 3 of Havdal knows that they need to have a nice, clean and efficient start off of this one. We've already seen how the gaps have formed between GTP and GTO. They're leaving themselves the room to go out there and attack and not run into the back of any of the straggling GTPs.
Yes, and Havdal has missed a few races. The one he has shown up for at Suzuka is the one he took the victory in round 2. But they only get two off weeks, so he's going to be behind the 8 ball for the rest of the season with a 0 to his name at the very least. Can he come around again and take another victory, or is Hugh Haycox too hungry to try and deny him of that? Since Hugh has already gotten 2, but his other 2 was a 0, a DNF at Suzuka, and then 4 points at Long Beach. It's been hot and cold for Hugh Haycox. As they come around Sunset Bend now, Porsche Pace Car is going to release them, and Havdal will have control of the fields. Looking for the Porsche to peel away. There it goes. Havdal waiting on it, and the green flag waves. We are green for round 5 here in the Kamel GT Series. Not the greatest of starts for Havdal. Haycox is good around the outside. Does he dare try and chop him off down into the corner? A little bit of 3 wide behind them, and cars making contact. They're going to spin out in the middle of the field. I think Jungbluth and someone tumbling around as we now head to the GTOs.
Oh, it's still happening as well as they go through 3, 4. Stefan Leslie caught up in it as well. You got dramas there going through. It looks like the likes of Cope was caught out. Going upside down was John Keith, and as the GTOs pile their way through, that's why they left the gap here at the start. A nice clean get-go from them though, as Mukanos and Core continue to fight 2 wide in towards turn number 5. And ultimately it is Niels Core who takes the lead away in GTOs. A very nice start from them, and a very well-behaved start. They knew they had to be very disciplined, traveling through a lot of heavy dramas.
Certainly is. I think Christian Arribas had an off at the hairpin. Oh, and Havdal. Havdal's tumbling down the order. What happened to him? He's off in Cunningham. Something has gone terribly wrong for our pole sitter. Hugh Haycox now takes the top spot.
It happens just like that. Matthias Havdal knows he can't afford to make mistakes. Cunningham corner is always going to be very difficult. Look at how much the car is bouncing. I swear that setup's not working for him very well at all going through that section of road. That's why you've got to be so careful. But Haycock's now your leader, and your championship leader up to second, Aitor Sintes Galindo.
Went back to check on my own, and all I can tell is that Havdal maybe downshifted too much because the car just whipped around as he went into the corner. In the meantime, over the bumps and around to complete lap 1, Hugh Haycox, your leader in the GTOs, or GTPs. The GTOs are being led by Niels Core, still towing along a train of rivals, Mukanos, Hamel-Smith, and Laughter in there.
Yeah, they're all there, and they're all trying to make sure they stay on the proverbial train. This is very much draft dependent, this track. If you stay within a second, 1.2, you're going to be okay. Outside of that, you're going to have a little bit of trouble around this place today. But Mukanos knows that this is a long race, 40 minutes, not as long as the hour that we had previously. You see some of the GTPs already coming into the pits, looking to try and pit for damage. I already see a half dozen down there in the pits with dramas. Hisada was one of them as well, who got caught up in all of the troubles. But the key is going to be how they manage the opening stint, and it's not just the front 2. Jamie Hamel-Smith, Ben Laughter, Franco Scuri, Hideki Koivisto, they're all there, and they're all very patiently looking to try and score their points.
Absolutely. But Core's got a gap of about a second over Mukanos right now, so certainly nothing to worry about for him. I'm seeing, and Phil Lake involved here, trying to make out who else that is. Looks like Sanchez, another one, and someone was flipping for the second time in this race.
I think that might have been Hervé Checkered who was going up and over, and in fact it was. So dramas of the highest caliber, some incredibly strong drivers finding themselves in all sorts of trouble then in the early goings. Sidney Milton, Carlos Fonseca, Ferran Grau all in there as well. So some big dramas going on early, and this is the last thing that you want to see. So it's everybody having themselves a bit of trouble, and the last thing you want is to be caught in the mid-pack and get yourself into an incident. That's how quickly it can happen. It happens with the blink of an eye. These machines were incredibly quick. There was a reason why in the 80s and 90s they were so ferocious.
Oof, well, that one started with Phil Lake, but I think we have a replay on the very opening incident into turn 1 in our GTP class. This began with a touch between Jungbluth and Hisada. Just pinching one another. I saw Jungbluth a little bit timid into the corner. That started a 3 wide. I think we're going to spool this one up. Here we go. And unfortunately from there, just a chain reaction behind. Look at how many cars have fielded up today. And that's Hugh Haycox. There you see the incident behind them. That's Hisada taking a real tumble. Keefe getting punted off by someone who got hit from the side. And that could have been a lot worse. I have to admit, a lot of drivers doing a good job just checking up to make sure they don't get collected.
No, you're absolutely right there. It was a very awkward incident, and it all happens with a bit of 2 wide, cold tyres, lap 1 as they go through. So here's the leaders. I think we're just about to see what happens with car number 3 there of Havdal, who did lose the race lead through that section, through all of the melee. In fact, Havdal is out of the race at this point in time. So it's going to be up at Cunningham Corner where the troubles all lie. And one of the issues you have, especially in the early goings, you're trying to be aggressive, you're trying to get places back. And especially as you look there at the very front of the field, all of that blinking that you saw in front would have done 0 favors for the number 3 machine. Moving on, trying to make that progress in towards Cunningham Corner. You can see, grabs the brakes, and he just locks the rears up. That's as simple as it is.
It happened so quick, too. Thankfully, he spun off the track, at least, so it didn't cost him that. As we come back live. Oh, and here's, excuse me, we're on the replay with Trangerade now, having his big moment. And again, it started with Lake into that corner going wide, and someone came upon it late. I'm not sure who that was, but just plowed into the side of a stopped car.
Well, they have yellow flags for a reason here in iRacing, and a lot of drivers do have that tendency sometimes to ignore them and think they can just drive through an instant. You can't win the tracks like that. It's always going to be difficult. They can see just some of the damage there in the back of shot to one of those GTPs, but GTOs, front 2, Niels Kor, Nicholas Mukanos, they've managed to build a gap of about 1.6 seconds to Ben Laughter, and it's only increasing as they go through, and they want to make it a drive of 1 versus 1, and Mukanos is a master of that. There's your leader in GTPs, Hugh Haycox, and there's the number 39 car in the pits as the likes of the 10 here of Ben Laughter tries to give chase. They battle for the lead in GTO.
Yeah, Mukanos managed to get a good run down to the first corner, challenges Kor, but then decides against it into turn 3, backs out of it, and Kor will retain the top spot, at least for the time being. This is impressive because Mukanos had fallen back to about a second earlier on in this race, chopping it down quickly and already putting the heaters onto this number 4.
Yeah, and those heaters are going to be important on the brakes, and that is sorted. So Niels Kor holds on for the moment down there at the hotel hairpin. They've got some GTPs trying to go through. That's Gianluca Gabbiani, who's trying to make his progress, and they'll move over, or at least both of them will give enough of the space to make that a reality on the brakes. This is where they get equal, and it gets very tight and awkward with the GTOs and the GTPs. The GTPs are so good when it comes to high-speed downforce. They just run away when that happens, and as well with top speed. Low-speed corners is all about mechanical grip, and they are even, if not the GTOs, those Audi 90s are a little bit better. So that's always something that you have to be very alert and focused to as you go around out there on the circuit. I tell you who I am surprised about, who's doing very well so far in this race, Joe. Michael Springer up 11 places into 4th.
And in fact, he's trying to hold off Fabian Jungbluth, who's quite fast himself, but might be carrying some damage from that opening incident. So Harrison is behind them. Boy, this is going to be quite the iRating haul for So, because he's got the number 45 on his car, and he's running in 6th right now.
Not bad for a driver who only just worked out was a H-pattern gearbox going through, so he's managed to sort that out. But So Harrison just quietly keeping the car on the road. And that's all you need to do here in this series to pick up points. iRating and safety rating. You just got to keep it nice and calm, and the points will flow naturally into your pocket as they go through. Has a good view of that battle for 4th place just in front, obviously. And they are now just starting to catch the fringes here of GTO traffic. This is the first time that we've seen it, and this is where coordination is key.
Well, he's going to get at least one here down the back stretch, but managing to narrowly sneak past Andre Juteau at the last moment. Both of them through. Springer having to make that move to try and put some distance between himself and the chasing Fabian Jungbluth. Already 10 minutes into this race, and we've lost what looks like nearly a dozen prototypes, but nearly none of our GTOs. In fact, I don't think any of them have been in pit lane.
They certainly haven't. Someone who is struggling in GTO is the leader of the GTO Championship, Oren Laskin. Right now, he's being lapped by traffic. He got a bit of an earful over the radio by Hugh Haycock saying, hold your line. Very difficult when the front is completely caved in on his car. You just saw him there going through on that curb shot there. Oren Laskin from Club Northwest. He's going to be really, really struggling to get any points out of this one today. His only hope is that GTOs fall afoul of lap traffic coming through.
And just to tell you how nuts it has been in this championship, the highest finish Laskin has had is a 4th place, and he's leading the points. Well, this one might set him back, and I'm pretty sure Hamill Smith will probably be able to overtake him as long as he has a good finish. Where is Hamill Smith, actually?
P4 right now.
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll certainly get him enough to try and overtake.
Not anymore. He's just lost the place, actually, as we look at our leading battle there. Frankos Scurry down the inside of Sunset Bend there, Joe. That was a very accomplished overtake.
Yeah, not easy. It takes a brave driver to try and make that one stick into there. Still, nothing to fret about for Hamill Smith. Just still in the top 5 in that 22 machine, and hasn't fallen off of Scurry either. Franco kind of covering him off a little bit down into turn 3. Takes a shallow entry, nothing doing from the blue and yellow car.
Yeah, nothing doing that. But again, patience is very much the better part of valor here in this series. You know you can't win this race in the opening 10 minutes, but my goodness, we've seen about a dozen, if not more, lose it at this point in time. And I tell you what, you just look down the bottom of the list on the retirement side of this field. It's GTP after GTP after GTP. It's like a graveyard down there at the bottom of the timing tower as things go. But at least for the moment, every position is going to be won. And Hideki Koivisto has just been quietly getting on by getting on. He's on the back of this group now, and on top of that, just behind, Ian Haycox is going to be there and is going to be searching for opportunities to try and make something happen. This is going to be a long, long battle here for 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th, I believe, at this point in time. They know they've got points on the line, and today looks like another great points all day for those who survive.
They're coming up to a point where maybe they could steal a little bit of slipstream pretty soon along the Ullman Straight. Scurry leading the front of that, and he has a bad run through Jean Debienne as they are joined by our GTP leader. Hugh Haycox goes by his dad safely. Now he's got to navigate the rest of them. This is a great exit from Hamill Smith. Scurry's once again going to cover off the inside just to play it safe. There goes Haycox. He is fully through, and an early bit of braking from Hamill Smith is going to keep them in order.
In order they are. So the patience is there, but behind is the battle for 2nd and 3rd in GTP. Aitor Sintes Galindo's not going to have everything his own way. Laus Olsen's trying to make a way through as well. The question is going to be, can you clear all of them by the time you get to turn 1? Aitor is, but clearly not at this stage, is Laus Olsen. He has to sit and check waiting for the exit there with Frankos Scurry, and then he's able to put the power down and make the pass. That's always going to be the difficulty in terms of getting around traffic. You've got to be patient, you've got to sit, you've got to wait, and then the opportunities will present themselves.
And speaking of sitting, Sintez Galindo is sitting pretty in the points right now because Trangarade, with his issues, is all the way down in 13th. And Hugh Haycox came in 18 points behind Sintez Galindo. So even with the first place, if Aitor finishes P2, he's certainly not going to catch him after this round. Just been plugging away with consistent results, and that fantastic win he was able to rack up last week. Now, though, he's got to rack up some overtakes through the lap traffic. This is between the leaders in the GTO, Niels Kor and Mukano, still tight together by about half a second.
Yeah, and as they find themselves tied together, they know that every single car that goes by is going to just open and extend that gap. Lead battle and the second place battle for both classes then fighting themselves into play. And just like that, having to leave the door open to Jean de Bien corner for Nicholas Mukanos, completely opened the door up. Niels Kor was about 7/8 tenths of a second back. All of a sudden, he's back to about 3/10 of a second, and the fight is on again. That's what lap traffic battles do. You open them out like an accordion, and you close them back in again just as quick.
Now their prototype just behind them, starting to approach. Michael Springer still in his 4th place spot and out of Sunset Bend. Thought Kor was going to get a better slipstream down the Elman Straight, but it was not to be. Look at the weave across the track. Mukanos immediately trying to break it off and get over to the racing line. They're going to be interrupted temporarily. Springer trying to go the long way around as he's being chased by Youngblood still, so he can't hang around. But that traffic actually worked out very well for Springer. Look at this. Getting plugged up behind. Youngblood's got no place to go.
No place to go at all, and this is one of the issues you find in a battle like this. You're always trying to get as much as you can. The patience has to be there, and suddenly Fabian Youngblood, from being there, is now 3 seconds adrift. So you just count that in terms of how battles go. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. And you have to be patient, especially here in iRacing. One of the things that's key, it's not like watching Formula 1, for example, Joe, where blue flags mean immediately you have to jump out of the way. Blue flags are advisory and not mandatory. If you want to battle with your car in front in a different class, you've got every right to.
Yeah, well, especially when it's for the lead here in the GTOs. They've got their own race to run. They're going to have the likes of Harrison now behind them. Now, lack of experience could cause problems here. Remember, drivers who have been in Camel for a while know exactly how the chemistry can work between these cars. So, like you said, being patient, and that actually looks pretty nice. So the 45 has done his job, and he's clear.
Yeah, certainly he's clear, and they've got a little bit of time before the next duo come along, and that duo is Douglas Cloud, who's actually made the pass on this lap on Javier Mosquera in the prettiest of pink machines, trying to drive through, and you can see just how aggressive you have to be around this place to go and get those passes. That was a major line from Douglas Cloud trying to pick off the moves, and basically it's like jumping around on the highway trying to flick through lanes. If you're trying to get one car ahead and hope that nobody cuts you off, like Mosquera just found out, he has to go the long way around Sunset Bend to make it happen. And oh, he gets all out of shape there on the really, really bumpy stuff on the outside. They don't sand that down too much in the scans, and just like that, Mosquera loses a second.
It's lucky he didn't run into the wall. I thought for sure he was going to find the barrier that time. So he's got about 1.4 to make up on Douglas Cloud from that. We continue to watch this fight for the lead. Kor behind Mukanos. Actually, wasn't that reversed?
No, you were correct. Mukanos was leading.
Apologies there. I confused myself. So Mukanos holding off Niels Kor for the time being. And yeah, just behind them, Douglas Cloud now approaches. He's got less pressure from behind, so he can try and wait for a good opportunity, not rush this pass through the Fangio chicane. And yeah, look at that, just weaving through like a slalom skier.
I mean, it's about as much of a chicane, the Fangio chicane, as much as the isn't straight is a straight. That's how much you've got in terms of opportunities there, in terms of how much you have to actually turn the wheels. Flat out in pretty much most, if not all, vehicles as they make their way through Tower Corner here, your GTO leaders at this point in time. It is worth talking, though, about the top three outright overall in this race. Hugh Haycock's, of course, with the lead. Sintes Galindo in second and Olsen in third. Laust Olsen, you know, has just been quietly sitting there, quietly waiting, giving his chances a very nice patience play. It's just there 9/10 of a second. Doesn't necessarily have to do anything here on lap 11. He can just watch and wait for things to come along to him, and knows that third place is still really good points from his starting position of third.
They don't have any GTOs coming up soon. Etherington would be the first one up in 18th. Other than that, they're just kind of tipping the laps off here in the GTP classes, probably appreciating having some clear air to focus on their own race for the time being. They're the 14 of Sintes Galindo. Started in fourth, up 2 positions since the start of the race and starting to close in. Olsen, you said 9/10 of a second a moment ago. It's already down to 3/10.
Goes quickly, doesn't it, around this place, and that's why draft is so important. You sit in the range, you give yourself a chance. It's going to open up here in this middle sector because the dirty air effect does play a huge role, but then you get to the Flying Fortress straight, you get another opportunity to just close in ever so slightly here, about half a second the gap, and they've got a little bit of traffic they've got to go through in front. Brett Etherington is there, and then you've got own class
we gotta
traffic.
go to the leaders.
Well,
GTO leaders just spun. Sorry to interrupt. Niels Core got into a GTP. He had taken the lead away when we weren't looking from Nick Mukanos in turn 1, and without even getting to lead a full lap, he's now dropping down the order to 7th.
That's how quickly races can be destroyed here in races like this. I wonder if we can get a chance to have a look at the replay. I managed to completely miss that, Joe, in terms of that incident, but really what you see from the number 4 is just a case of that miscommunication once again. It's so quick how it goes from everyone's your friend to everyone's your enemy.
Going to look at the replay. Is this going to be the pass? No, this is the incident here into the corner. And in front of him, you talked about it earlier, the GTOs are even faster in some of the slow turns, and I think that caught him out.
Absolutely. It's as simple as you try and go through that section of road. It was an Austin Powers million-point turn to get it turned safely, but that is how easily it can be trouble. So the GTPs, they're going to take this run through the big bend here, the Gurney bend, over towards that hotel hairpin, and they're going to start swarming around. He has the lead of the race, but the key here is that by the time he hits the brakes and he wants to put the power down, you can see they all stop, they go into the corner. Difference maker is, well, he can pick up the power a little bit quicker, and, you know, the car in front was just spinning its wheels throughout the entirety of that section.
Oof. Well, the irony is they've called this version of the hairpin the safety pin sometimes, but it certainly wasn't safe enough for our former leader. Core wound up 8th after all that. Mukanos is about 2.5 seconds ahead of Ben Lafter, so he's well clear. That could disappear pretty quickly, though. There you see Lafter on your screen. We've witnessed the GTPs close that gap much faster just through traffic, not playing as nicely as they would have liked.
You know, it's very quick how traffic does play a huge role, and another big battle is going to have some traffic to deal with. We turn to it at the right time. It's Michael Springer and Fabian Youngbluth as they have to get around Michael Haynes and give him a PS there as he goes through. PS, thank you for the overtake. But Fabian Youngbluth knows that he's been in this position many times before, has driven this car many times before. Michael Springer in the 20. Knows that he's in a race. That is 3 seconds that's been managed to be closed back in by Fabian over the course of the opening half of the race. He knows he's got this second half to go and work on that time, and they've got a nice gap. They know it's either 4th or 5th for both of them if they don't come together. 7 seconds to the car in front, 12 to Harrison behind.
That's a big gap back there to Harrison, but I'm sure so it's not worried about that too much here at this stage. Coming off of the hairpin once again, Springer keeping it at arm's length. Youngbluth can't seem to really get close enough to attack currently. Up in front of them, Zhang is, and did we lose the 45 car actually?
The 45 is Harrison So. He is still out there at this point in time, so he might just be struggling a little bit here, going through the middle sectors. And he'll know that it's a long road to get himself to exactly where he wants to right now. There's Laust Olsen in third position. He'll be trying to work out his way through, but look at that. It's the walking wounded sometimes as you go through, and with so many machines, I'm not sure Aitor can sit by idly and wait, and that was a heavy lift from Aitor there going through. I wonder if it was slow down heavy, the way that he lifted out of it. He left a lot of road.
It certainly seemed like it, and I mean, I can't blame them too much. Sometimes if you're just not feeling confident into there, might as well give up a little bit of time and try and take the car to the finish. Better to see the checkered flag. Only 16 more minutes left to go in this race as well. It flies by here in the Kamel GT series with so much action out on track. Jonathan Ricard just in front, a lap down here from Olsen, along with Tim Phillips. Those two in a fight for position. Sintez Galindo, he's going to look down into the hairpin, but then thinks twice about it.
He's got time, though. It's very awkward to try and make these moves in front of same class traffic, which just makes a move there. So Tim Phillips graciously lets everybody go through. And now, look at the run here as they head to Cunningham Corner. This is the chance, but you're going to get boxed in here if you're Aitor. And that goes away. And abandoned ship, Jonathan Ricard goes straight off the road. Wanted none of those two in front. But there's another bit of lap traffic. It's Kyle Graham, and then you've got Mika Tupola that they've got to get by. This is how awkward it gets later on. It seems like all the cars mesh into one small pack after another small pack, and you don't know where you're trying to get by vehicles.
Still, Olsen's holding on to it. Oh, it gets a little held up by Tupola. That's going to compromise his entry into Le Mans. And off the corner, seems like it did just about the same to Sintez Galindo, so doesn't have to fret about that losing him too much, or does he? The slipstream's pretty powerful today, it seems, as Sintez Galindo's going to look to the inside and sends it deep into the corner. We're going to get boxed in again. It looks to be the case, and Laust Olsen is saved by the bell.
Oh, very much like Deontay Wilder in the 10th. That was a brilliant bit of racing there from Laust Olsen, but each round continues to come along in terms of this race. More traffic to be had, and it's Nitsch and Cameron. Oh, look at that down the inside. Pick your pocket, why don't you? Smash and grab SimRacing.
I love that, and it just goes to show that the traffic giveth and the traffic taketh. Sintez Galindo knew that, and back into second place he goes.
Contact for fourth place. It's Michael Springer. He's right on the back. We were talking how it was about a 7-second gap. That gap came down to 3 seconds over the last 2 laps, and Springer has got away with just a bit of contact to the back of Tim Phillips.
They're also now going through some of that lap traffic, as they've also got Cameron Nishtun just in front of them. Is this going to cause problems with lap traffic from both classes coming up at once? Springer tries to set it up the inside of the GTP. He'll get the one. Now he's got to figure out which side. Cameron is going to go on. He'll hold to the right, gives him the racing line down into Tower, but Jungbluth not able to do the same.
No, and he's going to start losing that gap, and very quickly it will fall away. Second and third continue, and they've got even more. They've got Miranda, Core, and Ferran Sanchez just in front, so they're all trying to deal, and this is what we expect with not long to go. The field gets strung out, and you start getting class upon class, those trying to recover through the field, those who have been in a little bit of trouble. All of this battling has given 9 seconds to Hugh Haycox, and Haycox has got it easy compared to everyone else. He can pick and choose where he goes. Imagine having to pick and choose how you get by traffic and defend. Olsen again wants a position. He's going to start looking to the inside. Aitor, are you going to lift out of it this time, or are you going to fight all the way through one? It looks like it's going to be a fight all the way through one. Here we go, 2 wide to 3.
Who's the latest on the brakes, and it looks to be Laust Olsen in this case, just feeding out Sintez Galindo through turn 3. Olsen into P2 once more. This has been an almighty battle that we've been witnessing in this class up for the podium positions, but what it has done is meant that Hugh Haycox is a little farther away at about 9 seconds. A tiny look into the hairpin there from Sintez Galindo, but then pulled out.
Yeah, had a little look, but it was just that, a little look. You can't do much more. They're coming up once again on the GTO leaders there. That's Hideki Koivisto that they just make the progress around and go through, and that's slightly wide, and up and over. Koivisto running straight into the back there of Laust Olsen, who gets tipped up and over. Nothing he could do. The rear wheels were up in the air, and this will be a long wait to get that turned around for a safe spot, and he'll finally get going once again back there in 5th position.
Yeah, don't put much on Hideki for that one. That was Laust just going wide and hard to control it on the grass. In fact, very similar to what we saw at the start of the race when Philip Lake did likewise and spun across the track. Meanwhile, we come back to Jungbluth since that broke up our battle for P2. And this has been promoted as Springer is now in the podium positions. Jungbluth is probably urged on that little bit more, wanting to spray the champagne today.
Absolutely. And up next for them in terms of what they get through, Patrick Shilvassi getting himself way out of shape just in front. But then you got the battle going on, and this is a great battle for 4th place in GTO. You've got one Mr. Hamill-Smith up against Ian Haycock. So you're seeing here how Dad does it as they go around the circuit. Through one, towards turn 2. Traffic's going to come into play here and disrupt this one, especially as they go through. And this is what you need to do. You've got to be aggressive. You've got to follow the tyre tracks of the driver in front. The moment that you can't, you're losing time. And this is what Jungbluth's done so well through 3, 4, and 5.
Down into the hairpin once again. Haycock's just having to allow Ricard to go through, losing that gap. And in front of them, Jungbluth within a car length. And in fact, they got to get around Scurry. It's going to stay off to the right-hand side. This is a great exit for Jungbluth. Defensive move from Springer down into Cunningham. They're dead even on the brakes, but once they turn in, he's going to give him space, and he sneaks back into it side by side through Collier. Jungbluth, can he get it done at a tower the long way around? He's trying, but it continues on. Neither willing to give way until finally exiting the turn. Fabian takes 3rd.
Oh, that takes courage, as there goes Laust Olsen again off the road and taking the long way around there at the hairpin. And there's the 45 as well, around and in trouble. That is So Harrison there, finding out why it's difficult and continuing to as he lights it up. That's Cloud just behind trying to get through, and that's going to be 4th position then. So all of it starting on, and that came at the feet of one incredible overtake. How do you manage a great pass like that? It's so well constructed by Jungbluth, and that's why experience is key in this series.
Unfortunately, Olsen's incident was because of some contact with Miranda in the GTO class, so it's been a day that was starting out so great in the last half of the race for Olsen has just gone south in a big way. Jungbluth starting to gap a little bit. Springer back by about 0.8 of a second. That'll come in handy, especially as they keep approaching more traffic. And I'm seeing Olsen continue to... Olsen's just slow on top speed. It looks like a bunch of cars are going by him. So I'm suspecting that the 13 is going to park it pretty soon.
Yeah, either that and Harrison's around. So Harrison with a big smash up at turn number 1. The 45's race is over and done with. He was trying to get by Niels Kor out there on track. And then as he was going around, the back stepped out, and that was race over.
A bit surprised here that Kor has not gained more positions. He's only up to 7th. And he fell down to 8th after his initial incident with the GTP traffic. As we watch Nick Rage now, kind of sandwiched between Cam Porter in front of him, Carlos Fonseca in behind, and then Guillotero making it a quartet if he could just close in that little bit more.
Oh, it's very much a case of get what you want. There's a GTO car in the middle of this, and this is a brilliant scrap right now for 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th in this field now with the retirement of Harrison. And just like this, they're making their way through, but Porter, you'd say, has got the unenviable task. He's on the front of this group. He's got to lead them through safely, and he knows he's got quite a bit of gap now. So this is where Nicholas Rage has to pretty much rage wrangle and get himself into position.
Yep, and Nick had started this race in 22nd, up to 9th right now. And even more for Porter, up from 27th position. Coming on to Le Mans, car sliding a bit as they try to get the power down. And though it was a good exit for Nick, I don't think he's quite close enough. They're going to run out of straight before they get to sunset.
Yeah, they just about are, and that's going to be frustrating. Good news is you've got another straight heading towards turn number 1, so it's not going to be the end of the world that you can't get it done right now, but there's the chance you want to try and close that gap in just a little bit more. So ultimately, not much that we're going to be seeing in terms of change. It is getting a little bit spicy, though, for P3 and GTO. Franco Scurry's been clawed back in by Jamie Hamill-Smith.
Interesting. And he's bringing along Ian Haycox as well, so it could become a three-way fight here. And they're allowing Mosquera to go by. That will check up Franco Scurry for a brief moment. Hamill-Smith trying to get the exit off the hairpin. Didn't quite work out the way that he wanted. Still stuck behind, and Scurry's going defensive down into Cunningham, so he clearly feels threatened.
Oh, well, why wouldn't you at this point in time? You know you've got 6.5 minutes left on the clock. You're at the mercy and the whims as someone's actually found the wall there going through. That's why there's smoke, and there's more smoke there for one of the vehicles just behind them. That is Philip Lake, who finds out why it's difficult in 7th position. But the key here is you've not got long left. You've got, what, maybe 3-4 laps to try and get yourself around this circuit. Very simple game. Defend every chance you've got if you're at the front. And for those behind, I think Franco Scurry's trying to back up Hamill-Smith into Ian Haycox so Haycox can get himself involved and he can start scampering.
There's Phil Lake now recovering from his spin there. Just a little bit of damage on the left front of that car, right front really. And coming around Sunset Bend, Scurry holds on ahead of Hamill-Smith with Ian Haycox giving chase. You see them fly onto the front stretch. This is a decent one from Hamill-Smith. It's not as long of a straight here on the front stretch compared to the Ullman straight. Yet another big defense from Franco Scurry. Probably too big of a defense. He was very shallow. Here comes Jamie, and he's not able to get side by side. I thought for sure that was going to be much better down to 3 here.
I'll tell you what, Franco Scurry's favourite movie must be Indiana Jones and Defender of the Lost Corner. He's being too aggressive on his defence right now. Yes, he's got to defend as much as he possibly can, but the issue that he's got is that he is compromising his line at corners where he is realistically not going to see a move happen. That's only going to leave yourself open to attack. He comes along to turn 7. That is an okay place to take the middle of the road line, which he did through that section of road. But the key now is that if he is starting to defend, what's he defending against? Is he defending against the dive bomb? I don't think Hamill-Smith's that sort of driver. He looks for complete opportunities to go and make those passes. And now you've got 3 GTPs trying to find their way through. This is awkward.
I was going to say, I think maybe what he's hoping for is these GTPs to provide a pick. If they slow up Scurry at the right time, such as potentially soon. No, it's going to slow up Hamill-Smith as he has to share the corner. And there goes Ian Haycox saying, thank you very much. I'm in this game too.
All the meanwhile, Fabian Jungbluth has just set the fastest lap of this race. That last time around, it was a 1:43.6. He's got the gap to 1.8 here to Aitor Sintes Galindo. Second's not done as we focus here on this incredible fight going through in towards this next section of road. This is now the Ullman Straight. Now look at this. Porter's through, but now you've got this awkward bit. That's a Deotero. There with Rage, there with Fonseca with 3 wide, there with 4 wide for a moment as they go to Sunset Bend. That is an incredible pass, and it's still not over and done with.
Rage managing to grab 9th as Fonseca up into 10th. Scurry just trying to stay out of it. He's actually lost Ian Haycox a little bit because of that. That had to have been frightening, witnessing all that going on around him.
Absolutely. And you put yourself 4 wide, drivers over the white lines. It's always going to be tough. You're just closing your eyes and praying there's not going to be an accident at that point in time. Unfortunately, there wasn't, and they can just continue on their race calmly as it goes at this point in time. Now look at the battle for 2nd position overall, because Aitor Sintes Galindo, that is a Fabian Jungbluth just behind as we got there the car in 4th position. Michael Springer moved for 2nd side by side. Fabian Jungbluth is through.
I wonder if there's some damage that we're not seeing on Sintes Galindo. because for Jungbluth to catch and pass him seems a little bit unusual. It's typical that the 14 has a little bit more pace. They're coming upon Niels Core, and this could be an offer back. No, both of them checking up, and they're going to stay in position. Springer still ahead of Cloud as well in that spot behind. So we're down to 2 minutes left to go, and in fact, it'll be white flag next time by for Hugh Haycox.
It certainly will. I've been looking over the laps, the last few laps being done by Aitor Sintes Galindo. He's either had traffic or he just doesn't have the pace. His best lap is a 44.4 by comparison to Jungbluth's 43.6. That's 0.8 of a second. I just think Jungbluth's got incredible pace. He's been stuck today behind Michael Springer.
Certainly showing himself to be a force to be reckoned with. Jungbluth with another podium here, and not just that, but the second step. As long as he can keep out of trouble, because Sintes Galindo's not giving up on it, still within about a second of him. Haycox is just coming onto the Ullman straight right now, so Barney's getting out that white flag, getting ready to wave it at the man who's won half the races so far. He's about to increase that stat to more than half.
Absolutely he is, and what an incredible drive from the front it has been. You always want to try and get as much as you can out of the start of this race. His rival spun behind him, and Hugh Haycox just simply hasn't looked back, Joe. He's just been driving in such a manner where, you know, both races, you could say here, for both classes, have been decided by what has happened with the leaders getting themselves caught up, getting themselves in a spin, and it's how you take that chance and run with it. He's run to the tune of 14 seconds as car number one for a reason.
Absolutely. Well, he's coming along to Togo Hisada, who is certainly farther up than 22nd that he is now, earlier on in this race. That's Koivisto and Core. That's actually for position for 6th in the GTOs. Core is still on a recovery, trying to basically get whatever he can out of this.
He certainly is, and the number 4 has reached the back of Koivisto, but has he run out of time to make overtakes on that? He knows that he's not got long left. He's got half a lap to try and make this move. Probably going to be at sunset you find that little battle coming into play. And off the road at Scurry. Scurry's lost the podium.
Oh, late in the race. In fact, this might be the final lap for him because Haycox is just behind. So that is an opportunity missed for the Italian. And there you see Ian Haycox now up into P3. Hugh is going to be, well, he's going to give his dad one extra lap, it appears, because I don't think he's going to catch him in time.
Very much may do, but you'd say at this point, it has been a fantastic race. Haycox, just sunset bend to go. I'm not sure he's going to reach in time.
He might put him a lap down. Regardless, Hugh Haycox taking his 3rd win of the season here in the Kamel GT Series at Sebring. And Mukanos just has about half a lap to go, actually maybe a little more than that, to try and snag the win. And Scurry is on the radio with utter disappointment in his voice at his mistake.
Well, he absolutely should be disappointed there in terms of that. Jungbluth, last lap, fastest lap, so he gets that as a bit of a bonus. But I'll tell you what, it was a nothing thing, Joe, that happened. He just pushed slightly too wide, understeered through Tower Corner. The left-hand side tyres just grabbed the dirt there on the outside, and he's not even spun the car. He's half spun it, but that's enough to lose 2 places.
Those are always gutting, and you know you've only got yourself to blame for it. But Nick Mukanos, with his fight and with Niels Core, stayed out of trouble. And then from there, just basically kept the car pointed the right direction and ticked off the laps. Trying to see, I need to check to see if Mukanos has won one this season. And yes, he has. So Nick is going to add to that tally here today with another. Trying to figure out which race exactly that was for Nick, and it was the last one actually at Long Beach. This is a battle for 10th place on screen.
Oh, it's brilliant coming towards the end. They know they're in a bit of a drag race here. Pull it out wide. Have you got enough? Ove Trengarade could not pick it up on Guilherme de Otero. That was as close as it can possibly get, and you look just behind as well. That's Laust Olsen trying to make a way through and get himself towards the end. But there's Nick Mukanos You can't really question the drive after dealing with Niels Korp. It looked like it was going to be 2 towards the end, but Mukanos, that's back-to-back wins, and he is now starting to become a force towards the mid part of this season.
Really is, but it's also going to take us to a bit of a break here. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in indoor series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Sebring International Raceway. We just watched round 5 in the Kamel GT series, and as it has been all season long, there was action non-stop. But Hugh Haycox managed to take away the victory, making his 3rd win of the season over Fabian Jungbluth, going from 8th to 2nd. Aitor Sentes Galindo mysteriously dropping pace late on and had to settle for P3. Still not too bad, but it could have been a 2nd place. Michael Springer, 15th to 4th, was then one-upped by Douglas Cloud, going 19th to 5th. Then you've got Javier Mosquera finishing P6 today. Phil Lake somehow wound up back where he began in 7th, even though he got into a couple of issues that we witnessed throughout the race. 27th to 8th for Cam Porter has got to be something to cheer about for that team, with Nick Rage finishing in 9th. Guy Otero finished in 10th. You've got Ove Trangrade finishing P11 with Carlos Fonseca in 12th. Martin Krejcik in P13. Pablo Suarez 14th. Bad day for Laust Olsen. It was very close early on and then wound up last one on the lead lap in 15th. Christian Arribas was 16th, Gabbiani 17th, and Ricard 18th. And it's Tim Phillips, Sidney Milan, Kyle Graham, and Togo Hisada rounding out your finishing GTPs.
Then looking over, of course, to GTO, it was Nicholas Mukanos who, through the second half of the race, was untouchable in the number 9, picking up the victory ahead of Ben Laughter in 2nd and Ian Haycox, with a little bit of help there from his son, Hugh, able to confirm the 3rd place without having to go an extra lap. Jamie Hamill-Smith was there just behind. Franco Scurry thought he had the podium there, but with half a lap to go at Tower Corner, it all half fell apart, and that's why it's 5th place only, with Hideki Koivisto 6th and Niels Kors in 7th position overall. Camilo Miranda had a very quiet race, but a good race as well. 8th in class, with Nejtun Cameron in 9th in class, and Mika Tupala rounding out the top 10. Following that, you got Ilya Dreisen with Thomas Fischer and Silver Piermetz out there on track today, with Simo Raba, Tiansheng Zhang going from all the way at the back of the field. Harry Weir, Michael Hayes, and Andre Juteau. And then from that point onwards here, Joe, it is retirement central.
Yeah, a lot of drivers had a bad day today of our 52 starters, but a man who finally had a good day compared to last week was Hugh Haycox, getting another victory here this season. And the number 1 car befitting his number here today, as we pull him in and talk to him about how he managed this one. Guessing some of the lessons from last round, hopefully taking hold and managing to avoid some of the trouble. Hugh, it's been such a hot and cold season, but you can't complain. 3 wins out of 5 rounds.
Yeah, it's looking good so far. I mean, 2 drop weeks. But yeah, no, it was a good race. I don't know what happened to Matthias. I think he outbraked himself in turn 6 or whatever. That's a shame, but it could have been a good race. But yeah, it was clean racing. Everyone was pretty good. Few questionable rejoins, but apart from that, seemed good from my end.
How did the track itself feel? Because it was very cloudy out there today, so temperatures slightly cool. Did it affect the handling or the grip at all?
Yeah, it was a bit cooler than it was earlier in the week, but if anything, it felt better, faster. Yeah.
Good stuff there for you. Well, this is a nice rebound after last week. Can you carry this on? Stop having this back and forth when we go to Phillip Island?
Hopefully. I mean, you know, don't want to say what I'm thinking, but you know, if everyone else behaves and I behave, it should be all right. But you know, it is racing. You know, we have to go wheel to wheel sometimes, and mistakes can happen pretty easily. Not to mention netcode and stuff. We're on American servers, so I have a bit more ping than some, but you know, shit happens.
Yeah, apologies for the language there, but congratulations, Hugh. Anybody you want to thank for the win?
Big shout out to Doug again for the setup, and of course you guys for putting on a great show.
Good stuff. Thank you there to Hugh for coming and chatting with us, our winner here on the GTPs, as Jake has caught up with Nick Mukanos, our victor down in the GTOs.
I certainly have, Nick. An important race by your standards, back-to-back victories on top of that, but the key surely opened up for you in the mid part of that race with the incident with Nils Core.
Yeah, there was a lot of cars out there today, so it was wreck avoidance and trying to stay out of the way of traffic and make the right choices, but also the Audis. I mean, everyone was so close in pace and practice. It's like you're trying to do both things at the same time.
It's always going to be very difficult as you go around this place, but talk about some of the difficulties that you have trying to avoid these GTPs. They're incredibly quick in a straight line in comparison to the Audi GTOs, but when you get into the corners, the slow speed corners, how difficult is it to be patient on the throttle knowing that you're very, very similar when it comes to the mechanical grip?
Yeah, that was the issue a few times today, coming out of like hairpin or slow corners that we can accelerate faster than them. Just kind of watching and see if they get a little too deep to where you know they're not going to get a good run, and then back off so you don't plow through them. But you know, it's not all in your hands. You just try to do your best to gauge what's happening around you.
Phillip Island 1 week from today, you gearing it up to try and make it 3 from 3?
I don't know. This has been a pretty wild season so far, so we'll see how it goes. Anything can happen.
Anything can, and it usually does in sim racing. Nick Mukanos there joining us. A victory overall here today from Sebring.
Yes, and we've got second place finisher in the GTOs with us as well, Ben Laughter. Ben kind of inherited that one a little bit, but it still looked pretty frantic out there as it has been all season.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's never going to be not frantic in Camel. That's part of the charm of the series. But it was good today. You know, it's always a weird thing to be 1-2 as a teammate, because you kind of want the guy in front of you to have a fiery crash, but then it's your teammate, and you kind of want that more.
Yeah, you can't wish ill on your competitors. But okay, on another lighthearted note, I do have to ask. I can't help but look at your car every time. I keep seeing a solo cup. Is there any inspiration there with the color scheme you've chosen?
No, it's just me trying to be creative and do different things every season with that car. So I don't know. It's just trying to put my own company's name. I've started a little startup called Struggle Buddy, and just trying to put that on the car and have some fun with it and figure out that company's branding.
We've been enjoying it. You've painted some beautiful cars this season. Will it stay beautiful when we head off to Phillip Island? Going to be a much shorter lap over there.
What a fun track, though. I love the undulation. It's really challenging. There's a couple of really tight corners that offer the same sorts of challenges that the hairpin does here, with the difference in speeds between the classes. But yeah, I always look forward to Phillip Island.
Well, we look forward to seeing you there. Congratulations on another podium, and have a good week until we get to Australia.
Yeah, thank you, gents, and thank you to the Nissan crowd today. You guys were pretty darn good today, so thank you for that.
Glad to hear some positivity from some of the drivers after such a rough season so far. In the meantime, we do have our third place finisher over in the GTPs, where Jake's going to try and figure out the mystery of what cost a tour time.
Aitor, it looked like today that overall pace was maybe a little bit down, but ultimately for you, a case of a consistent drive for some consistent points. How important was it today to make sure that you confirmed the podium above all else?
Ready to check? I think it's working. Yes, yes, it's working. Sorry. I think it wasn't a bad pace, but I'm honestly surprised by how Fabian Jungbluth made those laps and clocked all that time. So I was honestly surprised. My pace wasn't that bad, considering that I usually go side by side with Laus. But yeah, I think it was a very important race. Lots of points today. Also, lots of feel sorry for Laus because we were battling so hard, but he had that little mistake that cost him a lot. And good race to also Hugh and also Nick. I think he won as well. But yeah, was a very important race. I'm very happy with the third, even though it could be second, but I'm still happy.
Well, absolutely, you should be. You're top of the championship at the moment. 1 win from the first 5 rounds. How important has this consistency been? You've not been outside the top 10 all season so far, and it's just been a case of picking up those points and building together a season. How important has it been, especially with a lot of the GTPs today falling foul of the issues, especially in the early stages?
It was the same strategy. Every race, every week, try to capitalize on the mistakes of others. The GTP is usually a very difficult car, and many people do little mistakes here and there and try to capitalize and make try to also maintain a good pace. And yeah, it's basically it's been my MO since I've been here in Kamel. Try to do as little mistakes as possible, and apparently this season with all the OSNTs, I actually miss already Niklas Schneider, who was the last time champion, and many others, many aliens. It's usually this season I've been being capitalizing the most. I'm fairly surprised, honestly, that I'm leading the championship. I don't know it will stand until the end of the season, but I will try my best to make it so.
Well, here's hoping, of course, for you, Aitor. Very quickly, though, it should be an easier time on the hands when it comes to Phillip Island, a much smoother circuit.
I think it will be rather smooth. There are no small mini corners that make the traffic go unpredictable, and it's a rather narrow track, but also rather easy to pass. Long curves that there are some room for the traffic to go smoothly. But also a very small track. If there are 50 cars in Phillip Island, we might as well see a lot of carnage. But as usual, I will try to capitalize on that.
Absolutely. Aitor Sintes Galindo joining us there, having a very, very strong run today. P3 and maintains the championship lead. Joe.
We've got the other Haycox with us. Ian Haycox joins, getting a podium today in the GTO class. And Ian, this is a steady as she goes race, it feels like for you. You were kind of at the back of a train of other cars for much of it. At what point did you feel like a podium was possible, or did you feel like that at any point this race?
No, I didn't feel like it at any point, to be honest. I got very lucky. I think a couple of people ahead of me ran wide or had traffic problems, and really I just lucked into third. I'm absolutely delighted with it.
Yes, sometimes it just takes a little bit of luck in racing. But how did you manage to stay out of most of the trouble? Because it seemed like there was a fair few cars that did fall victim, more so the prototypes and the GTOs. But these bumps, I'm sure, don't make it easy to try and keep your line steady.
Yeah, that's true. I think just practice, really, just doing other races, working out where the GTOs and the GTPs go, and just leaving space. You know, it works both ways. And I would say that actually I felt the driving standards over the last few races have really improved, and people are a lot more patient and accommodating. So I'd like to say thank you to everybody in the races recently that have done a really good job. Actually, it's made it much more enjoyable and fun.
We joked about it back at VIR because it came so close to happening, but I have to ask, since you two have been sharing podiums here, is there going to be a time when we have both you and your son win in the same race?
It would be lovely, wouldn't it? But I don't think I've got the pace. I just enjoy battling and having a close race with people. That's kind of where I am. But a podium's a pleasure and a surprise. But one day maybe we'll both be on the podium on the top step.
Oh, we'll watch out for it, and that'll be a fun day for sure. Congratulations, Ian, and best of luck at Phillip Island.
Brilliant. Thank you. See you next time.
That was Ian Haycock's third in the GTOs, which closes us out with a big thank you ourselves to the Kamel GT community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. But we also want to thank the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out our Bandcamp for more awesome work. And thanks to the team today, Jake, Zach, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. And check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. We keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment, because as we said, next race is heading off to Australia, Saturday, October 23rd at 1 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen. So check those out and mark them down on your calendar, including in just a few minutes' time, it is the Majors Team Endurance Challenge back for Season 2, kicking off at Motegi, 3 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.